Hello everyone! I'll start today's video with one question. Do you find yourself a fast worker? The definition of fast or slow work depends on the person's feelings and the situation, so it is difficult to evaluate without setting conditions for each case. Today, I'll be explaining why you should always use hypotheses as a technique for efficient and quick work. I will give you a methodology to build your hypothesis firmly and verify it by yourself. What you'll get out of this video is a clear understanding of what a hypothesis is, a practical grasp of how we use hypothesis thinking in our daily lives, and the technique how to apply hypothesis thinking to increase the quantity and quality of your work. But before jumping right into the topic, come and check our latest video posts on this channel. We are constantly uploading videos about communication, life management, financial management, career plan, and many other aspects. Find new opportunities to grow in your professional career and develop your daily life with us. Now let's get started. Is there anyone around you, including yourself, who is always working late for some reason? Do you know what might be the cause? Most probably it's because you don't have a hypothesis. For instance, when making a decision, almost everyone believes it is better to have as much information as possible because failure is not an option, and success in one shot is beautiful. At first glance, this belief seems appealing, but the truth is that this way of thinking can actually reduce the speed and even the quality of the work you value. Let's take a closer look. Having a hypothesis may seem burdensome, but the truth is that people who think of not being able to formulate hypotheses at work often do this very naturally in their personal life. Let's say you are thinking of buying an item of a certain brand as a Christmas present for your sister, because the other day she was talking about it. This is really a splendid hypothesis making. But what if she just happens to own that specific item from that brand and she does not like it? In this case, it would be an unpleasant gift, so you ask a close family member who might know more about it. This way you are doing a hypothesis verification. As you can see, we often go naturally through the process of hypothesis making and hypothesis verification in our private lives. This cycle of hypothesis making to hypothesis verification is a very important methodology in the process of doing something. The example above proved that it would be a waste of time and effort to go through all the possible options for Christmas presents by asking yourself, would my sister like this? Or would she be happy with this? Making a hypothesis means that you spot a wild idea or guess based on what you've ever experienced. By setting up a hypothesis, you'll avoid gathering a lot of information and you will save yourself a lot of time. Hence, you will be closer to your goal, which in this case is to buy a suitable Christmas gift for your sister. Sometimes people think that if you don't go through all the information, the chances of making a mistake are higher. But the bottom line is that it doesn't matter if you make a mistake. If you make a mistake, you can always come up with another hypothesis the moment you find out you are wrong. By improving the accuracy of your hypothesis is how you get closer to your goal. Now, let's apply this method in the business field. Comparing to personal life, where we can do this naturally, in the business world, not everyone can follow this cycle of hypothesis. For instance, when given the task of coming up with a new measure, some people will start with no hypothesis at all, thinking that they should gather all the information they can or that they should just try their hand at it. In the business world, every task has a deadline, and not many of those deadlines are easy to meet. We, business people, are always in a race against time, and by using this hypothesis cycle, we could accelerate the speed of our work. Being able to quickly go through the cycle of hypothesis planning to hypothesis verification can be very powerful, especially in a rapidly changing industry. Still, there are those who feel that narrowing down to a single hypothesis does not encompass other possibilities, or a wrong formulated theory leads to the waste of time. As for the former, it is a business cliché that 20% of the important input creates 80% of the results, as stated in the famous Pareto principle. In other words, if you try to comprise all the possibilities, you are likely to end up working less productively, because you'll have to spend effort on the remaining 80% of the 20%, which may not be as relevant. The fear coming along with making a wrong assumption is unfounded. Rather than being unfounded, a wrong hypothesis can be quickly identified in the course of testing it. Once you'll understand this, it will greatly improve the accuracy of the next hypothesis. So how shall we set up and verify a hypothesis? Let's take a look at this in more detail. Hypothesis making. The first step in developing a hypothesis is to use the concept of abduction. Abduction is a reasoning method proposed by the American philosopher Charles Sanders Peirce, in which a hypothesis is applied to an event that is occurring and developed logically. This method is often explained together with induction and deduction. It is a technique when making a hypothesis saying it is likely to rain, by using the general fact that black clouds are rain clouds, when seeing the phenomenon that there are many black clouds. The same logic applies to Wagner's theory of continental drift and Newton's universal gravitation. When I mention these great people, someone may think that I have to do something great, but I believe that the ability to do this abduction can be trained and developed in everyday life. For example, it is quite effective to develop the habit of thinking about something like "that means XYZ" by connecting it with the general facts that you know, rather than just overlooking the phenomenon that is happening around you with a Such practice will make it easy to come up with ideas for business problems, such as why sales are falling. Use your daily experience to build up a stock of cause and effect relationships in your brain. Hypothesis verification. The next step is to verify your hypothesis. Without verifying and without outputting the results of the verification, the hypothesis will remain just an idea. It is ideal to test your assumptions with both quantitative and qualitative data wherever possible. Quantitative data could be the results of a recent survey or sales data, for instance, but if there is no hypothesis, it is not possible to find a starting point of detailed breakdown in the data. On the other hand, if there is a hypothesis such as sales in area A is low, or product B is not selling well, or repeat customers are decreasing, it is possible to ask whether the hypothesis is correct or not. We can analyze the data efficiently by looking from a different angle. From a qualitative point of view, it is possible to visit sales sites and interview the people involved. With a hypothesis, you can focus your observations and interviews on what to look for and what to ask. It is also important to be aware that when you discover your hypothesis is wrong, you must return to hypothesis making step immediately. People tend to get attached to hypotheses that they have spent a lot of time working on. We have a bias to justify it, and we try to find only the facts that will make the hypothesis correct. But make sure that you verify it with a neutral stance and go back to the hypothesis making phase if you are wrong. A wrong hypothesis is a step forward, not a step back. This is because you have eliminated the probability of one hypothesis. Think of it as a great way to help you develop a better hypothesis next time. Now, let's summarize the content of this video. The first thing to remember is that if you work without a hypothesis, there is a big chance that you will lose speed and quality. Secondly, in the hypothesis-making phase, it is important to create a highly accurate hypothesis by using the abduction reasoning method, in which you apply general facts to what is happening and create a theory on your own. Lastly, in the hypothesis verification phase, it is important to test it both quantitatively and qualitatively in a neutral way and with a cold mind. If you found it wrong, return to the hypothesis development phase immediately. Hypotheses are very useful if you are a businessman or even in your private life. No matter what kind of business you are in, no matter what kind of job you have, you are always solving problems. And we encourage you to try to adapt this cycle of hypothesis development and verification, even if it's only gradually. If you are not used to it, you may think that it takes extra time, but once you overcome this phase, it will become your competitive characteristic. So start practicing it right away. Thank you for watching. We hope you learned helpful tips from this video. And if you find them effective, share this video with someone interested in developing his or her business life. For more videos on this aspect, check the description box below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more content like this. See you in the next one.